we are live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Artcraft Q&A.
Ace Q&A for November 2019.
Where we take questions from you, the viewing studio audience, not in a studio, and we answer those questions. And I think that's pretty much it. That's what we do, basically. That's what it is.
And who are you?
I am Todd Coleman. I am the creative director of Crowfall.
And I am Thomas Blair, the design director of Crowfall.
And off screen, I am Pen, the director of community.
Yay.
And very quickly, I just want to say good job to Emily, who is running the stream today. Everybody says the audio is great.
And Cece is here as well.
Yes,
Our
she's sitting
gal,
over there to
always.
yell and scowl at us.
To scowl at us when we say things we're not supposed to say yet. All right, so before we start, a couple of things we want to go over. You want to hit them?
Okay, so we've got the Satan campaign just ended with the infamous Decapathon 2.
Yes.
Apparently it has become infamous after 2 runnings of it.
That's right.
It is quite... I guess it just needed infamous before.
You're better than famous. You are infamous.
You're infamous.
Val, you have a quote from one of the top players in the winning faction.
Creme de la creme, number 1.
Yes.
The skulls of my enemies are my most treasured trophies. Only glory to the god means more, and thus they are sacrificed.
There you go.
Such a great quote. Such a great quote, Fred.
All right. So I want to say thank you to everybody who participated in the Decapathon, and congratulations. All right. So what about the next campaign? What's next on the list?
Freyan?
Freyan, I guess.
Did I pronounce it right?
Freyrin. Freyrin.
Freyrin.
Freyrin. This is what happens when we let CC name our campaigns.
Very Norse.
It's very
Norse.
Norse. Very Norse.
What's the look this winter? Oh, he's so Norse.
He's so Freyrin. Okay, so that one starts tomorrow, November 7th, and it runs till Tuesday, December 3rd. So that's a 3-week campaign.
Okay.
It is 3 faction. We're sticking with 50 imports, 50 exports. I know that you guys would like some variation there. Again, I'm trying to keep all of our focus on this milestone.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm trying to do things that are generally less offensive, the least offensive. Somebody's going to be unhappy no matter what we do. So I'm trying to pick things that are kind of generic and less likely to offend the majority of people. So that's it. So for information on the campaigns, you can actually go to crowfall.com/campaigns. And that's really cool because now it kind of lays out and gives you all the information about the stuff that's going on. It tells you where you need to go to fight. So usually we're going to try and post information about new campaigns a couple days before they come up there. So if you miss the live stream, which you should never do because this is quality entertainment, but if you accidentally, because of some tragedy or something, you unavoidably miss the Q&A, now you have a place you can go to get the update.
There you go.
All right.
I got nothing on that.
All right, so...
I'm just looking at the next line, and I'm going, what's coming? And I'm like, what are we allowed to talk about on that one?
We've got...
She just left it open-ended there.
That's because she knows that if she tried to get me to not say anything, I'm going to say too much.
Okay.
It's almost inevitable. So we've talked a little bit about the next version that's coming. It's .110. The reason that we have done the live freeze is to pick up momentum, and the reason for that is this is the single most impactful milestone we have ever done. It's the largest milestone we've ever done.
There's so much stuff coming in.
There's so much stuff in there. In some fundamental ways, the game, I think, will be unrecognizable, right? The tentpole, of course, is Guild versus Guild and the Dregs, but there's a whole bunch, which includes different victory conditions, other ways to win the campaign. It includes all the building stuff, city customization, which is huge. It also has the seasonal stuff coming in a big way. I mean, it's a massive update.
And then Hallish and I are touching a lot of the older systems that we haven't touched in 2 years.
Right.
That have just been kind of floating out there. We knew we had to get to it. It was just there was other more important things.
Yep.
So that's all going to get bundled in as well. So a
So
lot of
this is a drive to beta is really what this really is. So I'm not going to bother to say drive to alpha because to me alpha is kind of a non-event. Alpha is something that I would imagine are you guys who watch us and watch us all the time, those of you who show up for every live stream, you're awesome. Y'all will recognize that we've kind of shifted, but the market as a whole doesn't really care about pre-alpha versus whatever.
The terms became so muddy.
The terms don't really mean a lot. Beta means something. To us, beta means we'll start actually inviting in waves the 300,000 registered players that we've been collecting over the course of the last, since Kickstarter, basically. Actually, since right before Kickstarter. So that's a big deal for us. That means we'll start to inject some real lifeblood in the game. And it also means that for the most part, the game is, we have the, I was going to say content complete. and feature complete, but that's not true. It's an MMO. The game is the hitting the point where we have the initial set of features and content that we feel are necessary to hit launch. And we already have now in plans the things that we want to add after launch. As you can imagine, we want more things than we could possibly get in before launch.
Always want more.
We always want more, but we have to draw the line at some point, and we feel like we're with 5.110 hitting that point where there's enough critical mass that we are distinguished from every other game out there, and there'll be enough playable game to say, all right, this is where we're ready to launch. And then all the other stuff we want to do, some of which is really cool, like incarnation system and all that kind of stuff, those will be great post-launch updates.
Yep.
So anyway, that's very exciting.
I'm getting a big feature today even, so I'm super jazzed.
Are you?
Oh, yeah.
They're hitting really fast. There are some really fundamental things coming in this one, but we're
And I'm not going to
saving
spill the beans on this one,
yeah,
but
exactly.
I'm super jazzed.
There's some really, really cool stuff coming. One thing that I was specifically supposed to mention here is the CRO Links system. Do you know about that?
Hook up your non-CRO friends with CRO Links in
It's
case
CRO
you're
Links.
not aware of the program.
It's basically an affiliate thing. So you get a CRO. Every player gets a CRO link, and you can give that CRO link to your friends. It's actually pretty easy. It's crowfall.com/join/username. So fill username in with your username, and every friend that you refer using that link is going to get 10% off of a backer pack, which is really cool. I mean, ultimately, our goal in this is to have people inviting their friends, because what we've learned is Crowfall is 10 times better if you're playing with other people. That's the kind of game that we've made.
Right.
It's a game to be played with others. So we want to, at the same time, we love the support. It's really, really helpful. Thank you guys for giving us the support. But we also would like to have us spread a little bit, not just to randos. We'd like to spread friends to friends to friends, because it is, Crowfall's
You just
not
go
for
out on the
everybody.
street and grab a rando. Hey, buddy, here's my friend.
You can, but what gets me more excited when in terms of growing our community is not just grabbing random people from WoW, right? Because ultimately, while I do think we've got a really cool MMO, and I think some of those people will like it, the people who are going to really love it, who are going to want to play this game for years, are people who are hardcore players, competitive players, and guild members. I mean, I think that's ultimately...
And people play with their friends.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, everything's fun with friends.
So that's why when CC brought a list of ideas, here's things that we could do with marketing, this one jumped out to me at the top of the list, because it's something that does exactly what we want to do, which is it brings us people from that kind of next Sigma out of connections. And that's what we want. So... There you go. Talk too much about CRO Links. So, Gilded yet. So the next section is a little section she wanted us to mention, guilds, and I think we kind of already did that, didn't we? I mean, there's a little bit here about earliest bird and early bird things. I have a feeling Gordon made those terms
Are we really chopping that line up now? We're like, well, we need to put a little more here.
I think it's funny. So...
Well, it's like when somebody looks at our item tiers, they're like, "Wow, you really sliced up 3 different ways to say newbie, didn't you?"
Okay, well, no, this is kind of cool though, is because it segues from what I just said about wanting people that come, because what we found is that somebody comes in a group, they are of magnitude more likely to stick around and play the game, and so for us, that means the game is more healthy with more guilds. So what this is, it's a way of offering guilds incentives in terms of crowns that they can then spend later by getting other guild members in the game. So I actually thought this was a really cool idea as well. So anyway, if you've got some friends who are interested in sitting on the fence, now's a good time to bring them in.
And be the earliest
got
bird.
guildmates, you can bring them in now. If they also are like, I'm not interested, you're still not done, I want to wait till 110, that's totally fine. We get it. Thanks for your consideration, and we hope to see you again when 110 comes out. Anyway. All right, so, lastly, War Stories. We're supposed to put a plug in every time for share your hashtag War Stories by tagging them with a hashtag War Stories.
Hey, look, we've even got a banner at the bottom.
There you go.
Hashtag Crowfall game. One
do
thing
that
I want to say
on the Twitters so that we can then make you famous, or more than famous, we can make you infamous.
I'll make you famous.
I do want to say that we've revamped the War Stories page, and it looks so much better now.
Cool.
It's going to be a great way to track these. I've only had time to put a few of them up, so I'm going to retroactively add in some of the previous campaigns.
Cool. Very
so
cool.
give me a little bit of time to get those in there.
All
Yeah.
right.
I mean, remember that when we do even these things like war stories, we know we're starting small, but the point is we're trying to kind of exercise those muscles so that once we launch, we can continue these programs and make them even bigger and cooler and make you even more infamous. So, so please do that because it's good. It's good kind of practice for us. It's good practice for you guys. We think this is a really cool way for us to surface what's going on inside the game and kind of hold a mirror up to the community so that you guys can actually see that it's a living and breathing world as opposed to kind of a theme park MMO.
Yep.
So help us out with that if you would, and we'll do the best we can to help boost your signal.
I think we've gotten through the 2 pages of preamble.
I know. Well, there's all the join us here, join us there. Just look for us at Crowfall or Crowfall Game in all the places. You'll probably find us. So Q&A, first question, which will be great for new people coming in, probably fairly well known to other people, so we'll see if we can sprinkle
But I have
salt
seen
in
it
a
on the
little
forums
bit
a couple times.
Yeah, so which is, what is Dregs? You guys keep mentioning Dregs. So part of our design of Crowfall is that worlds are completely unique. That doesn't just mean the map and the seasons and things like that. It does mean those things. Literally one server versus another, they're completely different map-wise and configuration-wise. They also have different rules. So you can change things like how are the teams decided, who fights over what are the PvP rules, what are the looting rules. So Dregs is the rule set that we promised way back in Kickstarter that is really the thing that sets us apart from all other MMOs out there, right? So we've been testing quite a bit now for a long time. We've been testing 3 faction rule set, which is kind of similar to Dark Age of Camelot or Warhammer or PlanetSide. That's not that unknown, the idea of 3 faction. In fact, we still have a world called the Infected that will provide that experience at launch. The Dregs, though, is true guild versus guild, and this really hasn't been done almost at all since Shadowbane. Certainly, I don't know that it's been done well since Shadowbane, which was my first game. So that's what and I'm not saying it was great. It has its issues too. It's my first game, but Dregs is the world that allows guilds to go in and not have to team up with other random people on a faction. They can really have their own identity, claim territory on their own behalf, and lay siege to their neighbors and conquer the world. So it's been a long time coming. I'm super excited because it is coming in this next version. And the strategy game in particular is going to be almost well-nigh unrecognizable for you guys because we've added so much depth and amazing new content there. It's going to be really, really freaking cool. So anyway, that is the Dregs world. Dregs world set.
Yes.
So, talking about Dregs, Modern Kinninern wants to know, can you place structures anywhere in the Dregs? And this is a question I've seen quite a bit, and I didn't know how to answer.
So no, you can't. So with the eventual plan with complete free placement is still going to be bound by the token system that is working the EKs. Right now, our focus has been on allowing for a lot of customization and variability, but very limited in terms of actual where the things are going because that's caused nothing but problems with the parcel system. So the amount of customization there is actually far greater than anything we've ever talked about in the past. The parcel flow is not quite there yet, but we're going to talk about all that later down the line.
Okay.
So I think that you guys are going to be very, very happy with the layer of customization. I'll say that is the few games, even Shadowbane at its like best was much more limited in terms of customization and flexibility than what is going into 5.110.
Yeah, and even from a gameplay standpoint, Steven unlocked a really big feature for us about a month ago that design has now been pushing on, where we can now link the powers with the what's going on the parcel and the buildings. So it's created all these avenues of upgrades and customization, which is great because it gives you guys a lot of choice and a lot of stuff to do. And to do that stuff, you need to go out in the world and get stuff, which of course means that there's going to be PvP hotspots.
Yeah, so Caravans, that's another thing coming online with this one as well. We try to come up with a lot more activities, refineries, that's coming on as well. So one of the things that, is it? Sorry, jump forward. One of the things that I think is going to be really critical and really cool with this milestone is what you just referred to, which is I can drop a building or a spire or an object that can change the behavior for the entire siege. That's actually really, really cool and really impactful, but it also opens up new avenues for us to explore as well. There was a time in the past where an idea popped up on the forums, and it's come up numerous times since, that was, can we have multi-stage objectives in a siege? For example, I don't just go Zerg the tree.
Right.
First, I have to take out this objective and this objective and this objective over here, and I have to do that in order to then enable me to take out the tree. And historically, my answer has always been, sorry, technically we can't do that. That is no longer the case. So we've actually solved that problem now. So we can do multiple stage objectives. We can also have a more graduated victory condition on a siege, as opposed to just, do I take the city or not? I can go in with a particular intent, which is to cripple your city somehow. I want to take out this thing, or I want to take out that thing in the city. So again, all of this is going to come out, but I have no doubt that you guys are going to look at where we got, and you're going to think that what we came up with is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty
and very extensible for growth later. So
yeah. And the second part of this question is, what is an FFA realm?
Right. So is that friendly fire? Is that what you're asking about specifically?
That term has been turned into all kinds of
It
things.
has, because I've heard FFA means friendly fire active, but I've also heard that it is free for all. Right. So
I always think free for all when I see it.
Right.
So I said early on that I don't think Crowfall will play very well with friendly fire, and I still believe that I don't. It wasn't built for that. I said that at some point I would be happy to test it. But all the testing is going to do is, my guess is, people tell us, hey, that's not very fun, and you said it would be fun. I'm going to have to say no. I actually said I thought it would not be fun. I still am happy to try it at some point, but not right now. Right now, I want to worry about getting the game done and getting the actual game that I think will be fun done, as opposed to chewing up a bunch of time and resources on something that is just proving what I already believe, which is that it's not going to be.
So yeah, so the Dregs is your team is your guild.
That's true. Yep.
And you cannot damage your guild.
Correct.
Your guild is green names to you. Every other guild is red names to you.
Yep.
And that's the easiest way to look at it.
Yeah. So the work to actually just flip the switch and say, now I can hurt other people is not terrible. It's just a whole nother damn thing. And we've got a giant list of things that I absolutely want us to have and try. It's that I know what's going to happen. It's going to be like, okay, well, now that you've turned that on, please make the following 1,500 changes to individual powers to actually make it cool. And then I'm going to get roped into that argument. So anyway, I've been pretty consistent on this. Right? This is not news to anybody who's been following.
Yeah, it's just those terms were floating around.
Solian said, friendly fire isn't worth it. Don't waste time. So there you go. Props off.
Because we got
Solian
one person
said,
agreed.
yes.
Thank you. There we go.
Are we sure that wasn't Debbie Sue on her phone?
Yeah. Debbie
Sue
Sue,
is yummy.
99, says, marketing is amazing.
She also has totally not Debbie Sue as one of her names.
Yeah. Okay, so
All right.
you ready for the next question?
Yeah, we are.
Cool. What we got?
Oh, we got people say you get extra experimentation points at keeps and crafting.
People say that, but is it true?
It is, in fact.
That might be
true.
why people say it.
They also want to know, is it just forts or keeps in a given infected world or campaign worlds? So, yes, there are crafting stations in the keeps that give buffs. And we kind of, the lore behind that is there's a thrall of a former craftsman inhabiting that thing, giving you some knowledge, and it gives you some buffs.
Right.
Right?
And when Thralls comes online at some point, we might make that more than just lore.
Yes.
But we haven't done that yet. We do have a big chunk of Thralls coming online, actually, in Vault 110, but not that part.
But not that part. It's more the killing and getting souls from them part.
Yeah.
But again, post-launch kind of thing. However, right now the lore is they're just inhabiting it. You get a buff when you're close. The forts do not get the benefit of this buff. But in 5.1.10, when you upgrade your crafting building in either a fort or keep, it will be inhabited by a thrall. So that's part of the city progression system come 5.1.10. Right now, we just put them out there, and it was kind of a prototype for me to test to see, can I even do this thing?
Yeah.
Right? And to anger engineering into giving us a better solution than what I put out there.
That's an excellent way to manage the engineering team. Thanks for that, Blair.
They're like, hey, this is great. We could give you a better way. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys will see that in 5.1.10 as part of the city building. There's, again, city building is a whole lot of fun.
Okay, so there is a version of this that's coming in 110.
Yeah.
And I did not know that. I knew that we had Thralls as a line item, but I did not know that you were doing the bridge between Thralls and buildings.
They are the lore there. It's inhabited by a thrall. Gives you a
Okay.
little buff. It's not actually
But the actual thralls, like thralls as a system, is also coming in.
correct.
content.
And those ones again, that's for major disciplines and things like that.
Cool.
So you can craft.
Okay. Question.
Let's see,
Oh, go
Drakenau
ahead.
wants to know, will rune crafting get the buff anytime soon for making rune tools?
Which buff is he referring to? So that's kind of. I mean, they have all of the stations are in 5.1.10.
I can jump off from here, though, onto another interesting point is somebody on his machine the other day was doing a pass over all of the passive skill training trees. That somebody was you, right?
Yes,
The
yes.
passive skill training trees?
Yes.
So there you go. So one other thing that we're doing in 110 is we're doing a pass over those trees, and it looked like they were actually changing overall shape as well.
Oh,
Not
yeah,
just,
yeah.
Not just branching tree structures, but also like radial.
They are all radial. In fact, by the time 110 launches, every skill tree will be a radial tree.
Which is really cool.
And it will show, like, you'll look at a tree and you'll know if it goes from left to right, it's a talent tree. If it's a radial tree, it's a skill tree.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Right, so they will have different feels, and all of the crafting trees got updated with stats that really do something. So one of the efforts of 5.1.10 was to get rid of all of the things that we thought we were going to get by launch and just get those out of there. Because there's clearly things that we know that aren't going to make it over the line.
Yeah.
So we're going to pull those out of the trees and put them with stuff that we have built in the last 2 years.
Okay.
So all of the trees are getting a pass.
Cool.
Next question is: are AOEs intended to go through walls?
Let me guess why this question came up. All right, because of the March of the Ganetians is why.
That-
for sure. So do you want to give some background on what that was? Because it was kind of interesting. I love emergent behavior, even when the emergent behavior is a little harsh at times. So we had a group that got together a dozen or 20 or some large number of Ganetian duelists, and they went around as a pack, stealthing and popping up and just whacking people, right? So the problem was the video of that was arguably hilarious, and it was. The watching it from the other side, which was watching a streamer who's just like, I just died, and I don't even see what killed me, not nearly as funny. So the question number one is it supposed to work that way? So the answer is on the AOEs going through walls, no, absolutely. That's not supposed to work that way. On the question of if I get 20 players together and I go around whacking people, well, it's not really a duelist question at that point, right?
Yeah.
If you get 20 players who are really skilled together going around, they are going to be pretty damn effective. Now, they shouldn't be this effective because of the AOE wall problem,
Right.
for sure. It shouldn't be that easy. However, I mean, we're going to find tactics like that. That's going to happen.
That
When
was
you-
always the intent with the duelist anyways, was they breach the walls via their tunnel power.
Yeah.
And they move around like a pack and they just cause havoc in your backlines.
Yeah,
Which
so-
means you can't always just look outwards. You sometimes have to look back and see
If
what's
it
going on.
turns out that one strategy or tactic like this becomes, so this is the danger, right, of having an open design. Open-ended design means we kind of give you guys a bunch of toys and you play with them and you all figure out what's cool and what's fun and what's not. If it turns out that something is game-breaking, then obviously we have to step in and fix it. However, I also want, that's part of the fun, is finding really
Yeah.
cool and interesting things. So it's a balance, right? I don't want to just go in and every time anybody finds something that is a cool combination or tactic that hadn't been thought of before, hit it with the Nerf stick. That sucks. We should obviously fix the problems first, and then we need to take a look at it and say, okay, is there a counter to this? If there's not a counter to it, then we need to figure out a way to allow people to have a counter.
And there is a counter to it in 5.1.10.
And in 5.1.10 there are some, so that'll help.
In fact,
quite
there's a
bit.
really good one. One of the Sentinels
Yep.
has a power, and I'm not going to tell you what it does, but
Yep.
it makes this strategy
Part
much-
of the city building that
Yep.
we talked about, city advancement. So it's a tough one. We'll definitely watch it. It's always a balance, right? I mean, in many times in PvP scenarios, the fun is not distributed equally, right? That is simply a fact that we have to deal with. So we need
However,
to-
at least we can fix the bug where you're.
we should fix the bugs and we should try and get it to be as balanced as we can. But I also do feel strongly about letting people experiment and find new tactics, because that's part of the promise of our game that you don't get out of a game that's on rails. So.
Yep. There you go.
Okay, the next one. Next question is: are you going to update the user interface? Actually, we are.
We are updating
Yeah,
the user.
and I hinted at this when I was doing the promotions for the stream and told them that you were going to be doing a first look. So yes, This is the first look reveal.
Okay, well, we have some significant changes coming to the way, it's actually fundamentally to the way sheathing and unsheathing and survival tray, action tray, combat, in and out of combat. We did an experiment to see if we could find something that we liked better, and it turns out that experiment was a success. Across the board, everyone who's tried it has said it feels better. So,
But that's not UI.
Yeah, it's part of UI. It's UX,
It
but
is
still,
UX.
it is part of it. In addition to that, there's also a pass on a bunch of the elements. There's some that I'd like us to have gotten that we haven't gotten to yet, like the lobby needs a pass. That'll have to come later.
Nick is primarily focusing on the in-game assets
Right, first.
in this
Makes
milestone.
sense. Yep.
And as he adds a new piece of functionality for 5.1.10, which is pretty much touching almost every UI, he's also adding in all of the elements that make it look like a finished product.
Yep, pretty cool.
So I believe we have a screenshot of that.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. So
I didn't know we were doing a screenshot of it.
Yes. So
Yes.
this is the new power tray. You will notice there's all kinds of framing elements. There's a little bit of smoke going there on the ultimate slot. There's now a dedicated recall and mount or saddle slot. There are some consumable slots in the upper left.
Yeah, so the mount one and the caravan one as well, right? We didn't have that. We didn't need it before because we didn't have that, but
Sure.
that's coming in 110, so we planned for that. You'll notice also the pip indicator there. I want to point out that that is your for classes that are pip mechanic-based classes. The harvesting pip indicator is not here, and in fact, we're going to punt that off into future gameplay only for people who invest in harvesting.
Correct.
So the random person who has not invested anything in harvesting, that part of the gameplay will be punted for them, so they won't even see it.
It is contained in a discipline now. It's in one of the exploration disciplines.
So
Okay, so just to verify, because they're asking, does this mean you're getting rid of tray switching?
I didn't say anything one way about that or the other, and that's a reveal that will come later, Val.
And if you look, there is a stealth. There was a stealth. There's a stealth widget there and a melee widget there on the left.
I can neither confirm nor deny. Next question, please.
Are you happy with how fast development is going?
I've never once in a single day ever been happy with how development is going on any project. I always want all the things right now.
Wait, I don't remember adding this question in here.
So I
Where
will
did this
say
question come
I am
from?
happy that
Did you
we
put it in
made.
there?
No, you
don't know.
had it on your list.
I am happy that we made the decision to do the live feature freeze, and I'm happy that we've gotten the increase
Yeah.
in momentum. However, I am by my very nature probably one of the most impatient people that you have ever met. I always want all the things, and I always want them now. When people come and say, well, you can only have A or B, my immediate response is, but I want A
both.
and B. And also,
Hashtag confirmed.
you've forgotten about C and D because I also asked for those. So, so this is just a problem with the terminology of how the question is phrased. Am I happy with? I'm never happy with it. It's never fast enough for me. I've actually daydreamed about having a like a sliders kind of key where I can access infinite universes and I can get access to infinite development teams and try out different ideas and take the best of them and bring them back. I think if we ever got that kind of quantum technology, in all likelihood, it would not be trusted to me to use for that purpose. But still, that's what I want. So. So I am happy with the way this milestone is going for sure.
Yeah.
We're getting a tremendous amount done, and we're getting it done faster than we have in the past for sure. And I'm also happy that we're starting to see the launch in sight. Right, you can start to see enough pieces coming online that you can feel it. We're now staring down the barrel of beta, and after beta, we start inviting these people in, and we get to test scalability. We get to kind of polish up the last bits and fix a bunch of bugs, get performance where it needs to be, and then we're gonna launch. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
How are damage types determined, physical or elemental? So for us, it is a value we put on the weapon. So I say this is a slashing thing, this is a piercing thing, whatever. We put it on the weapon. In the case of bows, it's the arrow type. So if it's a fire arrow, it does fire damage.
That makes a little sense.
Even though the bow says piercing, it needs a default. So, but don't.
So that means if they walk up and you were to poke them with the bow, it would be piercing.
If we did that, but we don't.
Yeah, I know we don't.
There you go. That was a question out there, and it's just look at the item that you have equipped, and 9 times out of 10 that will be correct. There are a couple exceptions, like for example the Knight Shield attacks. We hard code those in the power to say this is crushing damage.
Oh, okay.
So because your sword is slashing and you're doing like a shield movement.
How many damage types do we have now?
We've got 8 or 9
Okay.
off the top of my head.
Cool.
That's it. And the final
Another
question.
bow question.
Yes. People had questions about
If
bows.
I'm using a bow, will it add the stats for my equipped melee weapons?
No, it does not. There is no double dipping.
Nice.
So we had that problem at one point where you would get all of your melee weapon stats as well as your bow stats, and it caused some balance problems. So it is actually only what your current tray is.
Okay.
So if you're in melee tray, you have your melee weapons out. That's what you're getting your benefits from. If you're in the range tray, you have your bow out, and that's what you're getting your benefits from.
So I have a bonus question because it wasn't on the sheets that we were given here, but it was brought up and asked, and I said, hey, we can talk about that on the live stream. So we're going to do that real quick, which is caravans. Specifically, we're not going to get into the details of the design of the caravan, but there are some things that are kind of obvious, right? Which is that you have to go to a mine or a quarry or a mill, and from there you get your caravan animal.
Yep.
And then you're going to drag that animal back, and you can either drag it to a refinery where you can break those things down into resources you can use to craft items, or you can take it, more likely, back to your stronghold and use it to build up your walls and your buildings and things like that. So one of the things that's really cool that I got to see last week come online is those caravans now being able to be taken through rune gates, which is really cool. So there was a big question internally about the additional tech that would be required to make them cross-world, and it was questionable about whether it would be worth it or not to us to do that, just because it seemed like a very expensive engineering task. The fear was if we didn't do it, it has design implications on the way we build the world.
Every world would have to have.
Every world is now going to have all of those resource POIs, points of interest, and if they didn't, then you would by definition not be able to build things on that world. So we have now resolved that. I saw the tech working. It was really cool. Took a pack pig through a rune gate, and so that's great. That's a better answer for us on the design side, so I'm glad to say that engineering effort is now working, which is pretty cool.
And I was tuning speeds and stuff like that, so when they follow you, there's ways to upgrade how fast they move, so you can write a mount on.
And the parcel adjective system also means we can do things like mark road tiles to give a boost to the speed of your caravans, which is really cool. So now I have a choice. Do I want to go faster down the road, knowing that other players are going to be waiting on the road looking for people to come by with a caravan, or I want to take them off-road and go through the forest, which will be slower but potentially slightly more camouflaged or more oblique. So, so that's really cool. All of that stuff is coming online, which is really super exciting as well.
Yeah, and it creates some great upgrade progression problems for the players to solve.
Yep.
Which is, do I want to upgrade the building where I turn in my caravan animals?
Yep. Or upgrade some other building that increases the speed of them, for example. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff now that's available to us that we never had.
Because one gives me more resources when I do the turn-in, potentially, and higher quality. And then the other gives me maybe faster animals with more health, or the point generator ticks faster.
What I like about this too is it also means that I can adapt my, because this ties into the entire city advancement system. What I like about that is it means that I can actually adapt my city to match my team's playstyle.
Right.
So if I tend to have a team that's more industrious, right, and we tend to harvest and craft and caravan, and we're really good at that part, I can actually gear up my city to augment that. If I tend to have just combatants, then I can say, okay, I'm not going to worry as much about that.
Right.
I'm going to worry more about siege warfare, defending and attacking. So it's really cool. The offshoots of this thing are plentiful. It's a very, very, very deep pool now for us to draw from.
Yes.
So we'll, in the meantime, between now and then, we will be getting back to you guys with some of the ideas of here's some of the buildings and here's what they do for you and things like that. And clearly, by the time 110 comes, you'll have all the information. I think you're going to agree that it's an incredibly cool, very, very deep system.
And they'll probably have
that
more
we can
ideas
grow
too.
on for years, for sure.
Yeah, there's always new buildings that can be added to the system.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've got about 15 minutes left. Can we take some questions?
Let's
Sure.
do it.
Video
Let's
audience?
do it. Yep.
Live.
Death the Minotaur asks, if we're getting tweaks on the passive trees themselves, will we be seeing a similar pass over the crafting system? Maxed trees and blue or better materials are effectively required to make anything worth using, given how experimentation works.
You make any changes to that?
I'm not going to make any change. Like, we've made a bunch of changes.
Well, you do have some changes to the passive trees that are coming, right?
Right, but I mean,
and that will have an effect on the minimum viable. Because what you're kind of
there's
saying
an
is
assumption in
this
there.
is needed in
Right.
order to do that, and I'm not sure that I necessarily agree with the premise, which is we set what minimum viable is, and we decided that minimum viable was advanced white. And it sounds like you're saying no, minimum viable is blue. And I maybe, I don't know. That's definitely arguable, right? What I have tried to do is make it to where the advanced white will flow much more freely. Like I want that stuff.
And
to be
that's why
much
we
easier to
put
get.
the ability to get 10 pips per line on white too, right?
Right.
So again, there's not as huge of a gulf as there was in the past between
Yeah.
blue and white.
We have definitely seen that
Excuse
the
me.
gaps shrinking, right? The changes you've been making. So the recent passage tree changes that you were making did that once again, right? There were some hard gaps on where recipes were coming from that required it, and so you've moved some of that stuff out of the passive trees.
And that was back in 5.100
Was
too.
it? Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
remember what
Yeah,
they said
it's
all the time.
So I mean, the difference they'll see in 5.110 is that the passive trees, the training will be much more streamlined and more rewarding for what they're going to build.
So I definitely want to go back to the crafting UI and make a pass over that, but that did not fit in the 110 schedule.
No.
So that's something that we'll have to do. In fact, I'm kind of hoping that while we're in the beta process, that's one thing that we can do as a round of polish just on the UIs, all the ones that we haven't touched yet.
Yeah.
So, well, not all of them, but a fair chunk of them.
Okay, Tesman said, and I've never seen you here before, Tesman, so welcome.
Welcome! Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Unless your question is horrible. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Thanks for joining us.
I cannot take you anywhere, Todd Coleman. Is there a plan for scouting profession and map crafting? When yes, do you have new informations to give?
So scouting, yes, we do have a number of things planned for the stealth game. I don't think we're going to get all of those in by launch. We're going to see. Some of the things that I have are really interesting and experimental means risky, and now they're hitting the point where we need to do less risk before launch and push some of that risk to after launch. We did for a long time experiment with map reveal, right? So we actually had Cloud of War, and you came in and you didn't know what was around the corner. You didn't even know what the map
we
was
had the
like.
cartography, like
Yeah,
the crafting
we did.
of
So
stuff too.
what we found was that the amount of pain that was causing in other areas of design wasn't necessarily worth the benefit, given that it's an MMO and the new maps a cluster would come online and literally the worlds would be mapped out within about the first hour and then shared everywhere on the net. So it kind of it didn't have the same feeling that I was hoping for out of Civilization, where, hey, I'm going to have to reveal this world and I'm going to have to see where everything is, because the parallelization that just naturally flows out of having hundreds or, God forbid, thousands and thousands of players means that discovery doesn't really happen. So so we kind of pulled a lot of that out. I'm still of a mind to reapproach it. I've got some other ideas I'd like to try there, but the initial foray, it didn't seem like that was warranted, so we kind of fell back to, all right, let's go back to, we'll have procedural worlds, we'll have randomly generated maps, but we're not going to do the fog of war. We'll have to reapproach that and look forward again sometime later.
So anyways.
It happens. It
Will
sucks,
the
but it
next
is what it is.
update have changes to ballistas?
All of the siege weapons are getting a pass as part of the city building.
The entire siege loop actually is getting a pass.
Yeah.
So there's quite a bit of change coming there, because it has to now be adapted over to the one thing that we got internally, which is really cool, we never had before, is city building tools. So previous to this, you'll notice the keeps all kind of looked like boxes. They were very uniform. We actually have a lot of variability in terms of, wooden gates and palisades and barricades and all that kind of stuff that we can battlements that we can put on castles, and yet in the siege game we were using none of those.
Right.
So we finally have a tool that we can actually build that stuff out. So you're going to see a pretty significant update in terms of city building, city advancement, and sieging.
Lots of folks asking about guild storage. I know the answer to this, but I will let you answer it.
Well, I don't want to touch it between now and 5.10
Yeah.
because it's another thing. That's another thing to touch. So in 5.10, I believe we have some more stuff coming online for guild storage. So
Okay.
we actually tried to just throw in something quickly, which was throw some chest into some buildings and see if that would work. And the problem was when the EK would shut down
It would
and then
delete
come
it all.
back up, it would delete it. And I
Yep.
thought, well, that's. I know it's obnoxious right now. They're like using corpses to store stuff, and that's really obnoxious. It's not obnoxious as, hey, I put my stuff in a chest, server went down, came back up, and it was gone. So, lesser of the evils.
Frostweaver.
It's in 5.110. There you go. That's it.
When are we going to be able to tell them more and show them some stuff?
I don't know. It'll come out when it comes out, Val.
You can write to Debbie Sue at
Debbie Sue 99.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Totally not
Like
Debbie Sue.
everything else, when things are done and we know what they are and everything in, that's when we typically share them.
Zach, I don't hate Frostweaver. It's just become like, if you're in a band and you're playing in a club, there's always at least one person who starts yelling out Freebird. So it's kind of like that. It's just Frostweaver has become Crowfall's Freebird to me. It's like we'll talk about it when we can talk about it. I actually had tried to put it on the news schedule and it got redlined. So there you go.
Yeah, it's gummed up in content is the actual answer. I think most of it is actually design wise is built at this point.
It's complete, yeah.
It's just now waiting on content, particles and sounds
And
stuff
sounds
like that.
and icons and all the polishing.
So, I mean,
bits.
one of them had to be last ultimately.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing is that a bunch of other stuff came online that took priority, especially design priority over it. So.
Something to look forward
Yes, Palmanantre, when the Frostweaver is ready for prime time, I will make sure that we get some stuff out there.
Yep, for sure.
What I do. And then last question, because we're almost out of time. Yumix, aka Debbie Sue, wants to
What's
know
your question?
When we'll start seeing stuff on the test server. They are anxious to get their hands.
You know,
into
that's an
this.
interesting question. So let me, because there's a slight difference in approach this time versus previous. In previous milestones, we've kind of waited till all the things come together, and then it goes to test, and then we let it cook there for a while, and then it goes kind of like proving in the oven, and then it goes over and it makes it to live. And in this case, I think what we're going to find is we're working on different things that are kind of self-contained. So as those individual pieces get done, some of them will migrate over to the test server sooner rather than later. And I might actually like one of those in particular, guild versus guild, right? Being just able to come in and have my guild identity basically untethered to a faction. That may be enough for me to actually say we're going to go ahead and internally call it alpha, because I think pre-alpha to alpha is a kind of a non-event, and that to me is that's our great Rubicon. When we cross that line, that's when we've really kind of come into our own. That's
Right.
when our game is now significantly different than anything else you can get out there. So the short answer is I actually think relatively soon we'll start to see some things pop on
We've
the
got to
test
put the
server.
engine back in.
But it's going to be kind of weird for you guys to look at, because it won't be like our typical here's the soup, try the soup. It'll be here's some carrots, try some carrots. Here's some potatoes, try some potatoes. We'll be feeding it out piece by piece, and until you get it all together, it'll be exciting, but it won't have the resonance. It won't really make sense. So,
Yeah, but our car engine, excuse me, is just kind of in the air right now because we're working underneath it. And we got
Yeah.
to put that thing back in.
And it's going to be so important for people to jump in and test this stuff.
oh, for sure,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely, because
Not
there's so
just for
many
the
pieces.
feedback, but also,
Yeah.
help us find issues with it, to test the server limits, and there's just a lot of reasons why we
There's a lot of moving parts in this one.
This
Yes,
is the big one, right? This is
Yeah.
the biggest milestone we've ever done. It's super important because all these pieces are finally coming together. So yeah, we definitely are gonna need you guys to jump in and put it through the paces, help us find the bugs early and often. So cool. All right.
Okay.
Anything else, or is that good for this time? We looking good?
I think we're good.
All right, I want to do my normal thing, but it obviously bears repeating. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, checking us out, letting other people know about us when you think it's appropriate, and just supporting us all this time. So these are monstrous projects. There's a whole lot of moving parts. You guys have been awesome and patient and incredibly full of support, so I want to thank you for all that. And for those of you who kind of show up every time to the Q&As, thanks. Keep your questions coming, and we will be happy to see you next month as we get 1 month closer to beta.
Yeah, and this is November, so enjoy Thanksgiving whenever that
Yep,
is.
yep. Absolutely.
And
Gobble, gobble.
we'll see you next month in December.
Keep those war stories coming. Keep that feedback coming. Thank you for supporting all of our social media stuff. I'm kind of a test and running reruns on our Twitch channel. Let me know if you enjoy those, or let me know if there's a particular stream or a streamer that you like that you would want to see encore performances from.
And I do want to say actually a specific thank you to the streamers that pick us up and stream constantly for a game that's not even out yet. That's awesome. You guys are taking a risk on us because we're not really bringing a giant audience for you yet. We hope to at some point. So thank you for taking an early risk on us, and we hope that we will do everything we can to try and help make that pay off for you in the long run.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, thanks for bringing that up, because we just had a Twitch takeover this past weekend during the Decapathon, and there were so many of the streamers that signed up, And one of the things that they were able to do was to give away a name a thing or name a place.
Oh, that's cool. We need
in
more of those
Crowfall.
anyway, frankly.
We
Now
need
that we're
more.
generating worlds randomly, we're
So-
constantly, I'm seeing the same names pop up quite a bit.
So keep an eye out on our channel. Keep an eye out for those. I call them the Crow Circle for our content creators, because I will make it possible for them to give more of those away.
Cool.
So you'll be able to submit names for something like, a place or a point of interest in Crowfall. I want to know who came up with Jingle Tap Fort. Like I
Who
see
knows,
it all the
man?
time. It's a
Who
popular
knows?
spot, and the name cracks me up.
I don't know. Well, though, I mean, most of those tables were filled out by players, right?
Yeah.
It was a Kickstarter.
That was one of the
reward.
backer
It was
rewards.
one of the backer rewards. Was
Yep.
name locations. There was actually a couple of variants of
Yeah.
name a blank. So I don't know. But
All
thank
right.
you. Thanks for filling out.
Thank
All right,
you
guys.
so much, everybody.
I think that's it for November.
Yep.
We'll see you on the forums and we'll see you in game.
Adios.
See you in a month.